Good morning. Myself, Dr. Monisha Kumari. I'm here to deliver my presentation on foreign exchange transaction. That is basically the transactions type of transaction which is involved for doing foreign exchange. So, before proceeding in the depth of this topic, I would like to discuss something about the foreign exchange. That what is foreign exchange? If it comes to the detailed discussion about what is the meaning of foreign exchange, so basically we can say it as a foreign exchange transaction or the forex, which is the global market space for buying and selling of various products and services, which involves the buying and selling of currencies also. So, for facilitating the global transaction or the investment or the travel purpose, we need the conversion of one currency with the another currency to settle the foreign exchange or the foreign trade which we are doing with the other country. So, various participants are also there for doing this foreign exchange transaction, like the central bank or the commercial bank or the retailers, retail traders, or the government. So various concepts are also there in this foreign exchange or transactions, like we need to pair the currencies like from dollar with euro or yen with bond or your euro with USD. Coming in some detailed depth discussion is what is the bid price and what is the ask price. If we talk about the bid price is the price of the buying, like which are seller bid price or sorry bid price is the price of the selling of the currency which a trader can sell a particular currency pair at that price is known as a bid price. And when we come to about the discussion of the ask price, it is basically the price at which the trader are basically buying the pair currency, which may be in the form of euro or pairing with the dollar or the pound pairing with the yen or some other currencies. And when there is a difference existing between the bid price and the ask price, that difference is known as spread. So when it comes to the value of one currency in term of other, we can say that say it as it is a basically it is a exchange rate. So various foreign transactions are also there, like spot transaction. The word spot says on the on at that very point only, means the transaction which is majorly settled within short duration of time, within 2 days of a time. We can say that it is a one-time transaction for the immediate exchange of currency. Typically, maximum it can take up to 2 business days. So when a buyer or seller of different currencies settle their payments within 2 days, that transaction is known as spot transaction. And due to the settlement less settlement time, it is known as the spot it is known as the fastest way to exchange the currency. So when the currency are exchanged over a 2 days period of time, means no contract is signed between two countries, then in that case the exchange rate at which currencies are exchanged within the short duration, within the 2 days span of time, that is known as the spot transaction. So the spot sale and purchase of currency is done, and this is known as spot market. Coming to the next is the forward transaction. Forward transaction is the when there is no such duration or the fixed limit of the 2 days, but for the future perspective, we are doing this forward transaction. That is the agreement to exchange currency at a future date with the predetermined price at the present. So this is basically done to hedge against the fluctuation risk. So a forward transaction is where the buyer and seller are entering into agreement of sale or purchase within the 90 days, means the duration will last till the 90 days. That is the defined future. It's not within the 2 days. If it is going to be settled within the 2 days, it will be the spot transaction. But when it comes to the longer duration for a future perspective, for a future date, but the price is fixed at the present only, then that is known as forward transaction. And the rate at which the currency is exchanged in this forward transaction is known as foreign exchange rate. So the market in which the deal of the sale and purchase of the currency with some future date is also known as forward market. But there exists a major difference between the forward as well as the future transaction. So the future transaction are also the forward transaction, and it deals with the contract in the same manner. But however, certain differences exist, like forward contract come with the client request. But when it comes to the future contract are a standardized form. There is no customization as per the client request. The contract date, feature, everything, size, everything is standard, is set according to the standard. Coming to the forward contract, it can be treated anywhere according to the availability of the client, according to their convenience matter. But when it comes to the future contract, so future contract is basically traded only in the organized form, because we have already seen the major first difference is the standardization. So the standardization deals in the organized exchange only, organized exchange market only. There is no as per the client convenience, this future contract is not going to be there. So there is no margin required in case of forward contract, whereas there is the need of maintaining the margin. Initial margin is kept as a collateral, as a security for the future position in the terms of future contract. Now the third transaction is the swap transaction. So the swap transaction is basically when the swapping is done between the two currencies. Means two parties are agreeing to exchange the currency, and then they reverse that transaction also, but at some later date, at some future date. So this is basically the swapping, where the simultaneously borrowing or the lending of different currencies takes place. One investor is borrowing the currency, whereas the other investor is lending the currency. So the swapping is done in this way, that the obligation is to repay the currency as a collateral, and the amount is paid at a forward rate. So the contract allows the investors to utilize their currency fund, which is compared with the different currency without having any risk fluctuations. Next transaction is the option transaction. So option transaction is basically giving the option to the investors. They are giving the right to the investors, but it's not the compulsion, it's not the obligation to exchange the currency in one denomination to another at an exchange rate. So an option is basically in the form of call option or a put option. There is a very less risk comparative to this future contract, because option is given. If any investor wants to back out, in that case, he can just take a back step, because if that rate is not in the favor of the buyer or seller, but in future contract, this back out option is not available. So these were the transaction for foreign exchange transaction, swap transaction, forward transaction, future contract, and the option transaction. Now we will be seeing the detailed version of the settlement date. That generally the settlement date is T plus 2. That is transaction plus 2 working days, 2 business working days, we can say. So the settlement date is a securities industry term describing the date on which basically the various securities in terms of share, debenture, bonds is transferred in the form of either in the form of cash or in the either in the form of asset, something like this. So the number of days between the trade date and the settlement date, that is according to the investment purpose, is basically the settlement days, which goes with T plus 2 days, that is transaction plus 2 days. Next is the spot transaction. Spot transaction is basically the transaction is taking place between T plus 2 basis, means on the spot only, because in spot transaction we have studied that within 2 days the settlement is done. So there is the need that cash transaction or ready cash should be available for making that settlement. Tomorrow transaction is also in these type of contract only, but when it comes to future or the forward transaction or the contract, then in that case, the specific future date is defined with the pre-decided price. So thank you so much for the discussion of this.